That's okay.
Okay, so hi everyone.
Hello again.
What
Okay.
month is this now? I've completely lost track of time.
April 1st.
April Fools.
April Fool. Okay, do you remember the song with Wise Men Never Go Where Fools Rush In?
Yep.
I don't know who sang that, Canon Dean or somebody. I don't know, one of those guys. So I put that into the writing there, and it really is kind of a metaphor of admonition, I guess, because you really don't want to rush in to something that's foolish. I mean, there's lots of storylines that go along with that, and I don't know if you ever read the book Shosha, capital Shosha. Have you read that at all, Miss Sagittarius?
No, I have not, but someone else was talking about it the other day.
It takes place in World War II. The man and his wife get separated. He goes to one section, she goes to another, but he keeps saying to himself, Shosha, I will see her again someday. And he kept going through the whole war like that, and he didn't get too affected. And then the day came when the Allies were said to be coming to liberate everybody from the camps. So he said, "Great, I'll see Shosha, but I'm not gonna rush, you know." So the day came when the gates opened up and all the trucks were outside the gates. All the people rushed to the trucks, but he just stayed home. He just stayed back in the camp. He said, "I'll wait for the next one tomorrow." Well, those trucks were the last ones that were going to the gas chambers.
Ah.
Yeah. And so the next day, the Allies came in with a flower, opened up the gate, and he went home to Shosha because he wasn't rushing. He said, he had this like long faith about it's all going to be good, but he had to keep his love. That was a Pulitzer Prize story by Isaac Singer.
Wow.
Very powerful. I always remember that. So anytime something comes up and somebody, come on, let's go here, let's go here. I said, well, maybe tomorrow. I always tend to wait, but that's a Taurus thing anyway. So, have you been writing your books? Have you got any books writing? Have you done anything new yourself?
Me?
Yeah, you.
I'm working on it. Yeah, I'm getting ready to move so I can plant. Hi, Penny.
Okay, Hi. Oh, there she
Hi.
is.
Hi, Brian.
So, Brian, what's happening this month? Talk to us.
Oh, man, I don't know. This,
you don't know?
No, I think
that's not a good way to start. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm a human alien. Well, okay. I mean, if you go through all the past March now, we've got through that, and we're now into April, and you know all my storylines about Andromeda, right? We're in the Andromeda zone, and that's a whole side story going along with what's really happening astrologically. But in reality, tonight, basically today's actually a good day with aspects, so that's good for all of us. But when we go into tomorrow, we will be at the first degree of our connection to Andromeda. Now, I've been trying to promote galaxies a little bit, especially Andromeda, because it's in the long future. And you remember, I must have asked before, the trivia question of Milkomeda. Remember that word, Milkomeda? No? Yes?
Yeah, I vaguely.
Vaguely. All right. Well, that's close. Milkomeda is a combination of Milky Way and Andromeda. Milko and Andromeda. Meda. And so the scientific or astronomical phenomena that's associated with that word, which is a scientific word, is that the Andromeda galaxy is very quickly coming closer to us and merging with us, the Milky Way. Now it's astronomical time, so it's not tomorrow, but we are actually in the halo of both galaxies. This first time that anybody's ever known that. So we're actually starting to mate or to mix. You can either say it's like a marriage and a merger, or you can say it's a collision. And so either way, it's coming together. So I figured I might as well be a prophet or something or whatever and start to tell people that, I mean, last year I didn't know this. I knew Andromeda was where it is today now, but I didn't know it last year how it works. So today and tomorrow, our solar system is lining up with the first section of Andromeda, which is at the second day of April. which is about 12 degrees of Aries, and it's going to go all the way to May 8th. So, for example, in my little theme park story, that when all those people are going to cross that bridge, if you remember the bridge last month, um, if you pass all the tests, then you could be entering into the Jurassic Park form of Andromeda. In other words, we're going to be so close to Andromeda in our awareness that we really have to know what that means for the future, because it's kind of like changing your DNA, your genetic structure, anything that might. It's like a heads up on the way future, and we might as well get to start working with it. So it goes from tomorrow until May 8th. That covers the span of Aries and Taurus, which is basically the month of April. So we'll be talking about that.
So Brian, when you say you may as well be working with it, what does that look like?
Well, it's like in my analogy here, and the rest of the story is that when all us participants are now in our little pods, and we're in the park, and we're going up close to the belly of Andromeda, which we can actually touch the flexibility as though it's like a mother's womb and a baby, and we can now start to feel that energy that's coming through us. How many years have we all been going through different metaphysical phases of understanding? This is really the biggest one, I think, or at least one of the biggest ones, because that energy is irrevocable and it's coming towards us, and it will change everything we do, including our current crisis going on, immunity and things like that, and genetic structures and frequencies and everything. Because this big galaxy is about twice the size of the Milky Way. It is really formidable, and it will make an impact. And all I'm saying right now is that this is the first time that they detect the actual halo merging. So it's like a dance, and they're starting to come together like that. I think it's a beautiful thing. But it's like in a lot of the narrative that I did about Andromeda, during each stage of this month, there's 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. We meet with the Andromedans. We meet with the energy of Andromeda. And if you go back to where I came from a long time ago, and studying all that, there was always concepts of Andromedans, Syrians, Arcturians, that there are cultures that live in other galaxies, which I believe they do. So we're starting to make contact with an advanced culture. So I think that's beautiful. So I want to be the first one out there, to kind of make touch with that. So that basically is already starting tonight. It started a little bit last when we had a full moon in March. After that, and then it started to go into the Aries phase, and we're still in the Aries phase, but now we're going to be like 12 degrees of Aries, and it goes until May 8th. So that means that the whole month, in my mind, when I study the whole month of April and into a little bit of May, I have to think Andromeda is a backdrop. It's like having another sign. So we're in Taurus, or we're in Aries, and we go to Taurus, but we're also in Andromeda now. We're in the wave, the pulse of it. So to me, that's pretty huge. So, they may even invite us for dinner. So anyway.
So how do we, Brian? How do we work with it, and how is that impacting what's happening?
Well, it's a love story. If you think of the mythology of Andromeda, the queen and the king, the queen especially thought she and daughter Andromeda were the most beautiful beings in the whole universe. But they got their attention on some other mythological features, and the next thing you know, there was a big argument. And in order to appease the gods, she was chained to a rock by the sea so that the monster could devour her. But somehow, in the whole drama of it, I think it was Perseus came along and liberated her, and they got married and had 6 children. So it's kind of a theme of beauty and the consequences of it, and also romance, and perhaps a good example of a relationship in the long run. So I don't know. When we do that, all of our signs are based on different archetypes. So the Andromeda archetype is merging with the Milky Way archetype. So just so we can reference it, the Milky Way, our solar system is about 2/3 of the way out from the center, and we're kind of like near the edge of where Andromeda is coming in. So what I'm trying to get from it is be like a more highly advanced culture. I've always been like screaming about people when they want to get smarter and more brilliant and use all the intelligence that we have and stuff like that. So this is an opportunity to be the first time to be aware of it. So as we go through April into May, you will really feel, talk about being in the spirit. It's a different kind of a spirit because it's more cosmic, and as we go through the month with different aspects and all, there's all kinds of divine aspects going on this month. So I'm just trying to think of how to make it more amenable. It's like physically changing our being by this energy around us. If you hang out with somebody long enough, you kind of get their energy and you share it. Well, this is just what I'm trying to tell people is it's an awareness. It's an awareness of a larger phenomena, and as you can put it in any context you want, divine, religious, whatever, it's just real. And I mean, and eventually there's another little galaxy called Triangulum, which will kind of come in after the mating. Of course, the mating is a long time from now, but it really isn't because it's just started. Um, so I'm looking at it as an inspiration and a validation of positive spiritual life or spiritual cosmic life, just anything you want to call it.
And so you were starting to talk about the global things that are happening right now.
Yeah.
What was that in reference to?
In my mind's eye.
And speak about what global happenings you're talking about, because not everybody watches TV or listens to the news.
I know. Well, I'm particularly fond, I guess is a word, of what's happening in Iceland. If you watch anything about that, the other night I watched it, and literally thousands of people are out on the ice floes partying on. They're cooking hamburgers and they're dancing, and then in the background you see the volcano erupting with the lava, and it's all cold and icy. It must be incredible, right? And when I first got the report of the Iceland, it was 800 volcanoes were erupting at once. I said, 800 volcanoes?
Wow.
Okay, that you got to pay attention to that. So we figure, I saw the map of that, and it was dots everywhere. All kinds of seismic activity going on. So you got to pay attention to that. What does that mean? So some days when you go into the doomsday prophecy, you say, "Oh my God, the volcanoes!" But I mean, volcanoes have really been around for millennia and millennia. It's not a big thing. It's the fact that there's so many. And I understand there's also earthquakes and volcanoes in Utah. Like what? Utah? You don't think about volcanoes in Utah.
No.
And there's snow in Hawaii. It's like coming down greatly. I'm like, wait a minute. What is this all about? Some scientists talk about the poles are reversing. And we've heard that before over many, many centuries, but I think it really is happening. There is a shift in that. Okay.
And that explains why the people in Iceland are barbecuing hamburgers and jumping at the top. They're like, woohoo, we're going to be like Hawaii.
Yeah, exactly. Well, honestly, way back when I worked in the city in Boston, I worked as an architect, and in those days, I wanted to invest in land and everything, and I went to Canada, and I said, Canada's the best place because in the future, it'll become a tropical zone like Florida. It's going to just flip flop into, instead of being freezing cold, it'll be, lakes and oceans and all kinds of like beautiful things. So I think that's really true. And there's just so many discoveries. But when it was back in, I don't know, nobody knows my theory about this. Back in June 1st, 2013, that was the first day of the beginning of us as a solar system being in the sea of light. When, if you recall, in 2012, there was a whole thing about, the Mayan calendar predictions and the change of centuries and things like that. And it didn't seem like anything happened, but it did. So in other words, back in 2012 December, there was a very slow motion of the tugboat. It was moving. Our solar system moved just a little bit. Started to move really fast, and then by June 1st, 2013, it plunged off of the edge of the waterfall of space and plunged into the sea of light, which is fourth-dimensional light. It's called photon. All right.
Ah, okay.
All right. Now, to me, ever since in fact, it's day number 005 or something like now. In other words, it's 2,800 days plus since I've been recording every day, I record, it's like Captain Kirk or whatever. And today's star journey, is 2802. Tomorrow, it's how many days it has been since that day. And guess where we're heading? We're heading toward Alpha Centauri, which, if you read any news along the line, scientists are finding there are signals coming from Alpha Centauri. Okay, hi, and they kept planets and, Proxima B or whatever, and it's only 4 light years away. It's not very far away. So, but anyway, in my estimation, our solar system is powering through the fourth dimension using fourth-dimensional light, not three-dimensional light. And we'll be there soon. We'll be in Alpha Centauri. So I remember some people that I talked about, oh, I'm from Alpha Centauri, and somebody else, I'm from Alpha Centauri. Yeah, okay. But it's a piece upon it. So this is how I explain global warming. Okay. Because when June 1st, 2013, I don't know how many people know this story, but for millennia, the Earth and the solar system was heading toward this part of the universe called the Red Dragon, okay, which was a very volatile space. Hence, most people would feel that the Earth was heading for the end of time in hell and things like that, very violent. However, back in the 60s, it started to shift out of that zone, and then by 2013, it plopped into a safer zone, a fourth dimensional light, and that's where we are today. However, all of the ecology systems are different now. So nobody knows how to deal with that phenomena that we're facing every day. Even the most brilliant people don't know exactly what to do. So when I said I don't know that part. But the point is that that's a beautiful thing. And some say that our solar system is becoming the eighth planet of the Pleiades star system. And that reflects many cultures in the world who all feel that they are from Pleiades. Hawaii is very into that. So, and Pleiades in the Bible is always called the sweet influences. So I guess that's a cool thing if we become the eighth planet in Pleiades. So
aren't a lot of the pyramids, kind of lined up with the Pleiades?
Oh, sure. Oh,
Yeah.
and also with Orion too. That's the
Yeah.
other one. That comes up in a little while too, about Orion coming up next in May and June. That'll be the next theme. But how everything's so lined up with it, and they did free that ship too. By the way, the ship that was stuck in the canal, and they now give credit to the moon for that. Did you hear that?
The rising of the tide.
Rising of the tide with the full moon that happened right around the time, and with a few other little things, they tugged it out and they were good to go. So that's fascinating to me too. So, but yeah, you go around the world and all like the tidal, the Gulf Stream, that's in on this coast here, the East Coast is like completely out of control, and the fact that the icebergs are melting so quickly. They're predicting now we might exactly have several feet of flood come to the East Coast within a few years. It's that fast. You go,
That's
oh, that's
dramatic.
not going to happen. But I remember way back when I heard all kinds of psychic people I knew, and they all predicted that, pretty much half of Massachusetts will be underwater, within a certain amount of years. So, but right now it seems actually scientifically possible, so then what do you do, right?
So what else has happened in this month?
Well, you had that list, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember the list? I think that, you should have put an outline together, right? Did you read that? Did you get it?
Yeah, Ellen got it.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna first show this up here.
Okay.
It's a funny diagram, but I hope you can all see it anyway. Is it fully visible?
Yep. That's
Okay.
better. Yep.
Okay. Now the yellow is pretty obvious. That's the full moon that's coming up this month. Okay, and the full moon is when the Earth's in the center, the sun is here, and the moon is here. So that's the maximum, pulling magnetic field energy. The red is the new moon when the sun and the moon are together. Just so you get an idea, a lot of people don't really visualize it. So in April 11th, the sun and the moon will be in Aries. Right now it's in Aries, but the moon will also be there, and that's the first new moon, or what I call the first pulse point. The second pulse point will be 2 weeks later when the sun and the moon polarized, or the full moon. So that's on the 26th. So in your calendar, 11th and the 26th are two important dates of the month to work around. Of course, new moons always start something new. So we're in the phase where today's April 1st, so we got 10 days more to go as we're descending in energy. So when I called it across Andromeda, our first 10 days of Andromeda is kind of just a nice soft ride through the space. We're descending in energy. We're not accelerating. But as soon as this hits on April 11th, it starts to increase the energy. That's called the waxing moon, and then we're peaking when Taurus and Scorpio are in full moon. So we're going from Aries to Taurus, Scorpio, and I call that the organic moon. So having kind of pointed it out, there's a couple of other things. Okay, you still can see it okay? Yeah, all right. This part here is where Andromeda is, okay? So here we are with the red, that's the new moon coming up. You see it starts to enter into the backdrop of Andromeda. That's what I've been saying. And then it'll go right up through the full moon and a little bit into May, just so you get the visual. But then everything else, you notice I label Milky Way because we are in the Milky Way. So the Milky Way is us, we're surrounded by it, but Andromeda is now starting to come up against it. That's the whole point. That's where we're mating. So the other thing was, okay, down in this bigger yellow, you'll see there's a lot of little planets there. Those are generally, it's Mercury, Venus, Uranus, Sedna, and the Sun, all in Taurus. So that's good for me. But there's all going to be Taurus energy after we get to around the area of the full moon. So just so you know that's significant. And that comes toward the end of the month. Okay. Anything else that I could tell? Notice I write down fire to earth, water. So halfway through the month, right about April 19th or so, we're going from fire energy to earth, water energy. So that's a really big shift. Okay. Any questions?
Yes. What does that mean to us for those who don't know? How does that shift? How does that impact us going from fire to earth, water?
Okay. Well, first of all, Aries, the way I've decided over many years now is that, the 12 signs are archetypes. So, when we were in the wintertime, we were in Pisces, where Aquarius and Pisces archetype. And then as we went into, we had the spring equinox just a little while ago, suddenly Aries is the archetype. So Aries is the self. So every springtime, we generally are asked to take care of ourselves. That becomes a bigger issue. The theory of really taking care of yourself, because that's what Aries does. And then when we come up to, well, like for example, last March 28th, when we had the full moon, the moon was in Libra, so it was self theme versus partner. So I had mentioned something, I think last time, how the energy of partnering was up during this last full moon, and it was like every year it essentializes everything you ever want to know about being true to yourself and being true to your partner, and knowing how those two things go together. What's the pulse that started just a little while, a couple of days ago. So now Aries is preparing. That's the fire, and then as we go into that new moon zone, we start an even more powerful, clean Aries archetype. If you really want to be yourself, wait till it comes to be April 11th, because then we also have Chiron, we also have Eris, a new goddess planet, and it's all Aries. But that means it's all about yourself, and it's okay to be yourself. Sometimes I call it benevolent narcissism. We hear a lot about narcissism these days, but it's okay to love yourself. It's okay to take care of yourself. It's okay, to assert yourself, etc. I mean, I'm learning about boundaries, and I guess that's good. I
But
can't.
narcissism, that's not what narcissism is.
No.
Narcissism isn't self-love. Narcissism is serving your story. You have a story that you tell about who you are, and your very survival depends upon that story holding up.
Okay.
So if my story is I am this amazing vocalist and I am a star or whatever you want to say,
You're a
and
legend.
I serve that story, I make everything around me aim towards serving that story. That's narcissism, when you can't detach from it because your very survival is connected with that story. I mean, internally in your mind.
Right. So it's like the hero. It's a little bit of you're advancing your best self, right? Or you're identifying with it.
It's your identification with to like in an extreme way.
Yeah.
That's why it's a mental disorder.
Okay. So I guess
An extreme way.
well, maybe we just got to go past the new moon, because that's a lot of narcissistic tendency going out. Everybody's going to assert themselves and all that. But again, that new moon is going to be right in the center of the Andromeda connection. So in my science fiction mind, that's when we, contact the committee of Andromeda. That's when we get the attention of those who are in power there. And we want to start a new race. So we want to start a new culture that has the prototype of selfhood at its highest level. One thing in esoteric astrology, the sun is exalted in Aries. What that means is the sun represents the heart. And I don't know how rare it is, but for spiritual people, when you take your heart energy and raise it to the head, that's the lotus that comes out of your head. That's Aries. That's the highest thing. So, and the Andromedans have more to say about that in my mind. Not that you want to put that together too much, but that's the idea. So we're going to have a whole lot of Aries going on. So from now until then, we're just going to have to bide our time a little bit. But that's not true. So but when we get into Taurus, it's totally different because we go from fire into earth. They say that the Aries is like the architect because it's brain power, the ideas. Taurus is the builder. So the architect says, here's the house the way it's designed, and Taurus comes and builds it. Because Taurus substantiates and puts things into the earth. So whatever your projects are, when it comes up to be April 19th or even a little bit before that, after that new moon, everybody's going to want to be putting all their projects, their energy, their investments, everything. They want to substantiate or make it like Earth. And the fact that it's got water there, that's the Scorpio moon will be in the full moon. Um, so I call it production and reproduction. So that comes toward the end of the month. So we go from the fire of Aries and all the running around like cross deserts and, achieving mountain climbs and whatever. Aries is the pioneer. And then they come down to the settler. Okay, we're going to build a city here now like this. So the month is divided into a lot of high-powered, pioneering, adventurous energy, and based on your own self with other selves. It'll be interesting to see how that works out. But anyway, then Taurus comes along and stabilizes it. So if people are interested in money market stuff, that April 19th, um, April 19th, right through the end of the month, it will be a big surge of financial, monetary resources available. It's going to be, I don't know if the stock market will just go nuts or something like that, but that's probably going to happen.
Well, so now let's clarify this a little bit if you can. So when you
Okay.
talk about the stock markets going a little crazy, so the stock markets are already crazy right now, but just because of, I mean,
Right.
with the globalization and what's happening is they're doing a financial reset, right? So all of the valuation is all over the place, and the world banks are turning up, all of it's turning upside down, which is going to impact the markets. So when you say it's going to impact it, it just means whatever's happening is going to be magnified.
Well, I think the core of what I'm saying has to do with the planet Uranus because it's been in Taurus now 2 years. Planet of big changes and inventions and genius and all kinds of cool stuff. And it was back in the Depression era, the Uranus was in Taurus, and people were all down and out, and there was poverty. But out of it came all kinds of inventions and new ideas. So That's kind of what I mean when that's happening, because the sun will be conjuncting Uranus, the moon will be conjuncting Uranus during that last part. So
The last
that's
part of April?
the last part of April, from let's say April 15th on, like about half of the last part of April. It's all going to be more Taurus. So, but with Uranus involved as the high wild card, the one that comes through with new ideas and bright new invention. Uranus is a rule of Aquarius, which is the new Aquarius age that we're in. So you're going to see all kinds of new things coming through financial systems.
Do you know, have any of you guys heard about the quantum financial system?
I heard it, but I don't know. What is it?
There's a whole new, I mean, I can't get into it. I don't pretend like I understand it completely, but it's completely gold backed, and it's quantum in terms of how it's measured, how it's seen, and somehow there's spirituality involved in
Right.
this financial system.
Right.
And they're saying that the whole fiat currency is going bye-bye, and this quantum financial system is coming in.
Okay, no, that makes sense. That's kind of what I'm saying. And I'll claim being a Taurus. I kind of understand what money is, and I kind of understand what resources are. That's another name for Taurus. You know, like all of a sudden, I didn't know I was that resourceful to get this done. You know, kind of thing. Value systems is a Taurus thing, but because
Wow.
you know, so there's a revolution that's really beginning this month at the end of April, um, in our consciousness, about the Earth's resources and everything that I used to call it the built environment. Everything that's built, from a ship to a tree house to anything. It's all about what we have in a material world and how we're going to have to be more, responsible for it, obviously. But that's where the Uranus thing comes in, because every time Uranus becomes strong, there's a breakthrough of some extraordinary, unusual, bizarre nature. So, so if you're getting ready for the last part of the month, you have to expect all of your resources, finances, investment, anything that you do that has to do with money and possessions. It's like you just see them different. You put on different glasses and you see them like in a whole new world. And I'm still trying to figure out Bitcoin, but anyway. I, know, I get some clients that ask me about that all the time, and I said, "Well, I like to understand it on the level of the Earth." So, it used to be the time when the three signs of money were Capricorn, Taurus, and Libra. Taurus was like if I had some chickens and I would trade you, for some wheat, the physical stuff, physical money, that sort of thing. Libra was if I gave you $10, I'd expect $10 worth of reply. And Capricorn was called the esoteric ruler of money, because it was what they call concretized energy. So, if I gave you $10, you can go get a pizza maybe. Give you $100, you might be able to buy some new clothing. $1,000, well, now we're starting to talk different. Every time you raise the amount you have, you also are equating to a different level of society, which is what Capricorn's about, right? So when they say money answers all things, it does. If somebody just came in the room right now and gave me $100 bill, I said, "Oh, hey," I go right for it, because that answers something. So anyway, expect that to happen a little bit. I understand they're going to try to change the dollar bills too and everything, right? They're trying to change all the history.
Well,
Yeah,
that's what I heard, because
yeah,
the Federal Reserve is closing down, and
right,
so they're going to a U.S. note instead of a
right.
U.S. dollar. Yeah.
I'm going to read you one of the parts, that broken down, um, just to give you a flavor. Okay, well, we'll do the, maybe we will. Hold on one second. Okay, well, any one of them could be worthwhile. Let's just say, all right, we'll say April 15th. The moon goes into Gemini. The butterfly is set free. So that's the 15th, the turning point, the halfway point. The biggest aspect of the month will be Sun sextile Jupiter. Now, a sextile is when two planets like the Sun and Jupiter align in 60-degree angles. So that's considered to be an easy aspect. So like, I don't know, I guess I wrote it the same way. Vitality, abundance, a royal aspect, everything turns to gold. That's a pretty good day if you want to look at stuff like that. But that's kind of the beginning of when you start thinking differently of your money and your resources and your prosperity factor, your abundance factor and your vitality, all that kind of stuff. So um, it's probably, I wrote down here, if that's what you want, meaning you want everything to turn to gold, it can happen. And it's probably the healthiest day of the year when you naturally increase vitality with hardly any effort. So if you're planning your month out, you wait for April 15th, that's when everything's good. Everything turns to gold, literally, or your body feels healthier and stronger. And that's because the energy is like a royal aspect. They usually say that people born like kings and queens have Sun Jupiter aspects. So just to give you an example.
Financially, this sounds interesting for me and Pete, because April 9th is when our final the tenancy agreement runs out on that our building for this woman that still is going to owe us four grand. So we'll be getting it sort of early April. So what you're saying financially, it sounds like it's going to turn out fine for us. Unlike this previous week, which has been very scary for me. I mean, I'm okay, but I had this excruciating pain in my right side. I had to go and have a blood test. It's been a nightmare this week. I finally got my results back and I'm okay. They went through everything. They did the whole blood work, but it was a scary, I didn't know what results I was going to get. And so it's been up and down this week for me. And in my anger, I just took my ponytail because my hair was growing long and we still can't have a hairdresser. Well, we can now, but we've not been able to have one in England because we're still bloody in lockdown. So I just took my ponytail. I thought, stuff it. I just took my ponytail and I just sliced it off. And I did it myself. And then my husband just trimmed it. And I thought, sod it. I don't care anymore. I know. Because I was going through all these motions last week, and
Sure.
I just went for it. Yeah, but fine out. But apart from that, yeah. I mean, last week. What was last week? I mean, I know it's a week ago. It's in the past, but it was just like crazy. My last week. So what were the signs like last week?
It was like the March 28th, and that was the full moon. And that was a really powerful one because those are turning point signs. Aries and Libra are like equinox signs, So the whole Earth, you might say, just
and Libra is my moon sign, so that might have been.
What is your moon sign?
Libra.
Oh, you got the Libra moon, so that must have really affected you then.
Yeah. It was a flipping heck of a week. Yeah. Luckily, it's turned out okay. So.
You're Aquarius, right?
I'm Aquarius with a Libra moon sign and Scorpio rising.
You feeling better, Penny?
Nightmare.
Penny, are you feeling better?
I am. The doctor just said that if I get the pain again, he wants me to go back in and try other things of what it could be. But I am going through the menopause, so you get all kinds of crap flying at you. So, but it's horrible at night when it hit me because I couldn't turn on either side. I was just lying on my back. I was trying to meditate, to breathe easily and breathe through the pain, but it's very hard when you are in pain. But that is the only way I could relax. Otherwise, if I tensed up, it just got worse, which it does. Yeah. But I mean, luckily for the last 3 days, I've been okay. But I don't know what it is. It's and the doctor says, oh, well, it's not your blood. You're fine with that. But you think, well, when it hits me again, because it has done several times, I think, well, what is it then? What is wrong with me?
Well, Brian, that's a good question because there's a lot of talk about how the movement of the planets is impacting our DNA and the shifts in our physical body. So can you speak to that at all?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I have to make a translator in language to do it. I mean, but I'm not going to do what I want to do because it would be kind of far out, But anyway, boy, oh boy, that's a real good question because you got to give me 1 second on that because there's so many things to consider when I answer that question. because now we talk about the signs, right? And the signs are 30 degrees each. We talk about constellations, which are not 30 degrees each. Those are star groups. There's two sets of zodiacs, and those interact. One is astral and one is sidereal. And one is etheric, one is astral. So, and then now we're having, beyond this with galactic kind of comparisons and all that, and we have exoplanets. We have all kinds of mixes. So it's actually an understatement to say that our DNA will be affected. It's like a huge revolution of DNA mixing or exponentially being dismissed or changed or altered or it's kind of wild. It's like a wild war almost. It's like something that is out of control when it really isn't. That's the whole point. It's all orchestrated according to what I would think a more powerful divine plan that we can hardly understand. So yeah, I mean, it has even the signs may change, even the planetary energy may change. I mean, Saturn is losing its rings, Jupiter is being bombarded. I mean, I always like to explain astrology as it's not necessarily the planets affecting us, but it's us synchronizing with their energy formation. So if Jupiter's going through this, we're going through that. We as above, so below. So, but if you do notice and follow some of the astronomy in the planets, it's just all kinds of crazy stuff is being discovered. So why not being affecting our DNA? So I think there's probably more things than DNA. And I always use the word Sedna, the new planet cDNA, capital SEDNA, as being one thing that incorporates a new feminine consciousness. Remember, I said that maybe the last time, and I really believe, from if I have kind of glasses that look across the earth, I see all the women, moving about, and I don't know if fibrillation is the right word, but there's all kinds of energetic movement because the women are rising up to a new power of their own self. And I just kind of want to sit back and kind of let it be because I don't want to mess with that new evolution. So I think it's probably affecting women more than men, although, arguably it could include them. But so anyway, that's a Sedna phenomena, which is the 10,000-year planet that goes around, and it's always been going around the sun, except it's so far out we didn't see it until a few years ago. So she was the goddess of the harvest of the seas, a fertility goddess, but I call her the goddess of space water, which is a different kind of feminine. So you have ocean water and earth water as being a more subjective feminine, but now we have an objective feminine factor, and that's a DNA shift right there. That's how I look at that. So she's a Taurus, which means if you look up in the sky, you can see. You couldn't without without a telescope, but you could see her against the field of the Pleiades. Right now, she's right in the Pleiades, so they're mixing up a whole new batch of maybe feminine energy, or more so, I've been studying childbirth and how different goddesses are being emerged into our pantheon of zodiac planets. Haumea is one. Maki Maki, if you've heard of any, those are the new planets that are out in the Kuiper Belt. But all this is so brand new in a way. It's only been in the last 20 years. But to me, planets are changing rapidly, and so as above, so below. So the heart chakra is the sun, and Venus is the thyroid, and so on. But everything that goes on up there goes on up here. So someday, I'm particularly fond of the concept of a rogue planet. Rogue planets are those that are going, they don't have a star to go around, so they kind of can free flow. So what's that all about, right? So it's kind of really crazy stuff. What do you think, man?
What do you think?
Yeah, I was asking Penny what she thought about that.
What do I think? What? Sorry?
No. Okay.
You lost her. Brian, we've got about 10 minutes left. 13 minutes left. Does anybody have any questions about this month?
No questions.
Not you. You're the man with the answers.
I got the answers I got.
Brian, I thought you were asking me about feminism. Sorry, you were going on about women and rising up. What do you think, Penny?
That's all you got.
Don't give me in this, please. I don't want to go on about feminism. No.
Okay, you were.
I mean, no, I don't want to go on that subject. I know.
Well, you're the Aquarius. You're like one of the signs
Oh,
of choice.
thank you. So I'm in charge. Am I? Putting me in charge.
Well,
Well, a female and Aquarius.
right,
So you want
well,
my opinion?
okay.
Oh God. Well, okay. I agree with equality. I don't agree with women fighting for everything they want. I don't agree with men fighting for everything they want. I believe in equality for both. And feminism can sometimes do my head in because some women take it too far. I'm sorry, that's how I feel, because I do feel like I'm a woman, and I think some women do take it too far. They put down men, and that's not right. Yeah. So equality for both sexes, I say. Okay, that's my opinion.
I've
Go on.
experienced.
Brian, your microphone is kind of funny.
It is?
Yeah,
Was that better?
that's better. Yeah,
Because I had the paper over it, I guess.
there you go.
I get all excited. So I have a lot of experience with the feminist world from years ago when I had a woman friend. I couldn't call her a girlfriend. Yeah, I got kind of knocked off my regular guy kind of being to become the feminist version of a man. So I don't even gonna say anything what that's all about. But that was, yeah. I mean, eventually we broke up, and she went off and married a woman, and and so and here I am. So I know it's hardcore, some of that stuff. I don't know. But anyway, how do you define? Well, who wants to define anything? But I was going to ask. Okay, no, we don't want to do that one. I was going to take one more. Okay, this is supposed to be a little humorous, but when April 19th comes in, um, this is Taurus energy, all right? Um, the veil of Taurus is upon us, earthly mysteries, and a turn to the sense world. Taurus is all the senses: visual, audio, taste, sound, smell, and even the sixth sense is a Taurus. And I understand it very well. This is when you become attuned to the fragrances, the aromas, sensual commodities. Taurus brings it all um, into the earth. Let's get some music, coloring books, have a picnic by the meadow stream. So that's today, meaning when the sun goes into Taurus, we have a powerful archetype of grounding and earthly sensations, including and especially attending to the physical body. How about that massage you've been waiting for? So it goes into that category. I just want to give that flavor because that's not an Aries kind of thing. That's a Taurus thing. So, but there's a few more things. Pluto goes retrograde at the end of the month. That ought to be interesting because it doesn't come back until October. So experiencing the world revolutions that are going on everywhere, it's sort of like everybody puts up a truce, a white flag for a while. So at the end of the month, nobody has any energy left to be revolutionary. I mean, it's in the sense of what's been the bad stuff that's been going on. There's just nothing left. What else can they do? It's just crazy. So that's Pluto going on vacation at the end of the month. Basically, that includes what I call eonic consciousness. So, something else. Penny, what did you say about April 9th? What was happening over there?
April 9th?
Yes.
April 9th. When the woman who was, she had a business below our building, and she ran out on us and owed us a lot of money. It's the end of the tenancy agreement for her. Even though there's nobody in the building, we're selling the building, but it's the end of her tenancy agreement that she cut out on, so that's why she owed us the money. So we've already had the money back so far, but the actual tenancy agreement's up to the April the 9th, and she'll owe us another, $4,000. But we're pretty certain we'll get that with no problem because, we got these bailiffs onto her, and she ended up paying far more, which was ridiculous. I mean, if she just paid us the money she owed us, she wouldn't have been paying any more, but we'd had enough. So we,
Penny,
you
is
know,
it one of those situations? I know a lot of people are in that situation here where so many people have lost their jobs due to the lockdown that they can't even pay their rent.
No. She left before the COVID hit.
Ah,
If she'd stayed on, she was daft. I mean, if she'd stayed on, she would have got government. She would have got help because small businesses were getting money from the government here. But she cut out saying she couldn't afford the business rates anymore. The rates were too high. But this was before COVID even hit.
yeah,
So she lost out.
yeah.
But left us in the lurch. And if she didn't pay us, she ended up owing us 11 grand.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we got that back. So
Good.
but it finally ends. The whole thing finally ends on April the 9th. So
Yay.
interesting what Brian's been saying about April financially. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. I was trying to reference that a little bit, but okay. I know you're going to ask me, how do you summarize it up, right? Well, I want to kind of just hold on one second, because it's about that Andromeda experience, and check your outline. That's this here, but some of you will be given an opportunity to increase your frequency. Special projects and research, and I put down space vehicles, will be available for certain electromagnetic reasons. You may have to show that you are learning to separate from the group to work on those accelerated projects with the Andromeda. Now that sounds science fiction, in a way probably is, but to me it's serious. So for the 11th through the 19th, Andromeda will seem like an Olympics tryout. From the 11th through the 19th, Andromeda neuromuscular facilities will be open for body-mind sculpture. Again, be reminded that you are pioneers, Aries, in advanced human genetic engineering, as the Andromeda merger with Milky Way is just in its independent stages. Okay, so remember, we're in Jurassic Park Andromeda style, and we've been in our little vehicles. One thing I didn't focus on, but you in those vehicles, you get to meet people like who might be your partners romantically and otherwise. So the whole month is one romantic month, if you look at it that way, with a little Andromedan flavor to it, and you can, it's almost like the whole free spirit thing, that whatever you want to do is okay, but what's going to happen is that people will find new coalitions and partners. It could be pretty powerful. Everybody's always looking for a partner in the right relationship, but this one's going to be like awesome, because you're being like sometimes I think of Andromeda being like a big ambrosia, a big nectar, and pouring this beautiful love energy across, and everything. Nobody's sick, and nobody's violent, and because that's kind of what come out of all the legend about Andromeda, is that it's a culture of high level interaction. So we're going to get we're going to graft that into us. It's a genetic code. So if you end up falling in love this month, then you say, I told you so. All right. So, and even if you're already in love, you'll fall more in love or something like that. Which would be a pretty good
I just
thing.
want to fall in love with the right person.
I know, huh?
Is that possible? Is it possible? One thing I'd love to share before we click off is that one of the things that keeps coming up in my awareness about this coming, just what we're moving into, is that although we're seeing all this stuff happen in the world, and some of us are wanting to stand up and yell or point out whatever, that because of the energies, we're able to create exponentially. And so what we're doing is we're creating the new world that we're moving into. And so the imperative is to although the inclination is to stand up and fight for rights, the imperative is really to create from that place of joy. Because whatever state of being we're creating from is exponential. So it is this thing of lean into this new energy that's being offered, and really allow the quantum aspects of the universe to support that. and create from the state of being rather than just moving and doing. Did that make any sense? That's what I'm
Great.
getting.
Well, I got to remind you that the moon's in Sagittarius right now, and at the end of the month, it will also be in Sagittarius. In my reference to the Andromeda month, you know, you're the guide. You're the guide that guides us through the Andromeda exhibit. And so you have to keep what always Sagittarius does is keep the future in mind. You're not a passive person as far as the sign goes. You're always shooting the arrow into a future. So I would kind of like say, well, here we are on the first of the month. But by the time we get to April 30th, you know, you will have guided us by your philosophy and your wisdom, and you're seeing into the future. Sage, you know, Sagittarius, you're the prophet. So we're going to ask you for your wisdom right now as we go into our Andromeda month, you know, to view all the exhibits of Andromeda and have all the meanings. What are you going to guide us to be aware of?
What was the last part you said?
What were you going to guide us to be aware of for this whole month?
Yeah. Well, that, just what I
That's
just
what you
said.
just said. Yep. That's what.
Yeah.
All right. So we have that little arc that's going to
And
go
it feels for those of us who are doers, like I'm an accomplisher. I'm
Yeah.
a put your head down and work this stuff out and stand up for what's right. And, you know, look back at history, pay attention to what was, look at what we created out of the past, you know, what actions were created by looking back at the past. And that is my most patterned behavior, is accomplish, accomplish, accomplish. But everything within me is telling me to let go of that and lean into this other way of creating, which is from that state of love and that state of joy. Even in these times, what are those things? Where do I connect with that truth of who I am and allow that to expand, knowing that I'm rooting this new energy in the earth and up into the heavens and creating it ahead of us. Like you're laying the groundwork for this perfect thing, this beautiful thing we're wanting to kind of, it's like a garden. It comes up like this. We don't push it. You know, there's all these different little things that we do, and then it starts to rise. And so all the things that we're doing now in how we move, if we move as love, we are creating the proper garden that is coming up as all these other systems are falling apart, because they're falling apart and they need to.
Yeah. That's well said. That's a perfect Sagittarius comment. What you just did.
It's making me want to move to California.
Who's going to move to California?
Everybody's moving out of California.
Aren't you in California?
I am, but everybody's moving away from here.
But if people in California are talking like you are, I want to be around people that, you know, that are cultivating love.
Well, you know what's interesting is it's not about California. It is like what I'm finding is that the more and more and more I trust that in myself, and I tear away these things that I'm recognizing as old patterning, the more people at wherever I am, they meet me, and I find them in the middle of wherever it is. They find me because we're resonating in that place. And so I'm watching these other possibilities of creation popping up all around me. And it's really, really, it's all an inside job. It's really crazy. But yeah, they're everywhere. It's just, you have to be willing. And a quick example, oh my God, we're over time, I'm sorry. I have been wandering for 5 years, even though California has always been my home, even though West Covina, LA area is my home, my family, my extended family, my kids are both coming back here. And I've been led to purchase property in Mexico and now move up to Northern California. And I went to this city and everything is so beautiful. And I thought, this is amazing. But to choose something just because it's good for me is not something I'm used to. I'm used to creating a home for my kids, for, you know, to serve my job, to serve all these other things. And so at 60 years old, my kids, they're old enough, like they're 22 and they're 32, but I'm so patterned at creating out of service to my family that it's a new thing for me to create from what is this childlike joy inside me? What do I as this soul, what do I want to create, and be willing to lean into that. And so it's just that old pattern. On one hand, there's this thing that's like, wow, I'm so excited to go. And then this gut wrench that's like, what is that gut wrench? It's just different than anything I've known. And we have to be willing to tear it away and keep leaning into that unknown thing. So, but they're there, they find you. You just have to be willing to keep tearing the shit away. Sorry, that was my French.
Well said.
Or move to California. Come up to Nevada City.
I've only been once in California. That was a whole other story. I have schools.
So no, I'm moving to the Isle of Wight, not California. I want my Isle of Wight. That's my little dream.
You got it. You got it. Well, Brian, we're done with our time here. Any last parting words of wisdom, or any last questions from anyone?
I don't know what I was going to say aloha, but I'm looking forward to maybe going there someday. But California would be great. But I think it's probably the operative word is, as we go into the whole month and the full moon is at the end of the month, it's like the whole somewhat echoes what you just said. It's like forming an entire new coalition of your feelings and your sense of beingness, because it really isn't all this other stuff that's so low grade. It's something far more beautiful, and you just have to keep re-registering it within yourself. And you got to set that forth. And why not dream and have the dream come true? That's how I would look at it, especially during this particular time. You never know what's possible. And I like to close on a word, maybe resonation. That's a beautiful word, because you can never lose if you have your resonation formula going on. What does that feel like to you? Well, I don't like that, but what about that? Oh, I love that. I'll go over there. That's a beautiful piece of art. Oh, well, what about that? That's a no. It's just very simple formula, And so this month, I guess just to close that idea is that even though it's a lot of Aries coming through, it's really the Taurus finale and then the Moon and Sagittarius at the end, but it's organic. So something grows this month. You produce and reproduce something. Supposing you invented the formula for some great thing to heal people, you reproduce it. It's organic. It's something that's going to be growing. So by the time we get to the end of the month, we should be, I don't know, like building beautiful waterfalls and landscapes and farms and, that kind of stuff. It should be really substantiated this time. So that's how I would.
So it sounds like the closing thought is really like trust in that desire that's coming up within you and just move on it.
That's right.
Move on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
trust in it. Yeah.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, everyone. It's great to see you guys.
Yeah,
And
great to be back.
by the way, Brian's stuff is going to be posted up on Human Harmonics, and he gives more in-depth stuff in writing than he can even deliver here. So if you're curious, it's at humanharmonics.life.
Yeah.
Yes.
If I wanted to, just contribute a little bit, because I have not ever donated anything. Is that on the website?
Yes.
So
humanharmonics.org. .life.
Live. That's
Yeah.
okay. I need to remember that. Okay. Humanharmonics.live. Okay.
Yep, you got it.
Well, I'll go on and appreciate what you said. And Brian, thank you. It was beautiful.
Thanks, you guys.
What you've all
Thank
said.
you.
It was really helpful. Everyone. So
You guys are
thank
amazing. Have a beautiful month.
you. Yeah.
Bye.
Okay, thank you. Goodbye.